Hey everybody, it's Damien from Guitar Journey here, and today we're going to start to learn how to use triads to make our solos even more melodic. And we're going to do this without getting bogged down in a bunch of music theory. The method that I'm going to show you today will help you to start using triads in your soloing, and you're not going to need to know a lot of music theory in order to make that happen. And I want to emphasize that although this seems like it would be kind of a fretboard knowledge exercise, and to some degree it is, I really think a much deeper goal for us is to use these triads to train your ear to listen and identify these notes intuitively. The triad notes will always sound pretty, they'll sound sweet, they'll sound pleasing, wherever you want to put it. But I don't think too many of us want to be sitting here doing, sort of mathematical musical formulas as we're soloing, figuring out where is the next triad note and so forth. Instead, take this drill as a way to learn your fretboard, yes, but in a larger sense, think of it as an ear training exercise. We're training our ear to perceive, to have an intuitive awareness of where those sweeter notes are going to be found, okay? So let's get started. When we say triad, we simply mean a three-note chord, right? That's where the word triad comes from. So in popular music, we're mostly talking about major and minor chords. Yes, there are diminished chords. Yes, there are augmented chords. But you don't see those as frequently in popular music. So today we're just going to focus on major and minor chords. And we're going to get started using the key of A minor. Those of you who follow this channel know that I like to give examples in the key of A minor because it's an easy key. The notes in the key of A minor, a natural minor, are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There are no sharped notes, there are no flatted notes, so pretty simple to work with. Now you're going to need to know at least one diatonic scale in order to do this exercise today, but if you don't know one yet, don't worry. I'm including a downloadable PDF diagram of the diatonic scale fingering that we're going to use today, okay? And I'm going to suggest that we start with this particular A minor diatonic scale right here at the 5th fret. And it looks and sounds like this. Okay, and again, if you're not familiar with that scale, don't worry, just download the PDF diagram from the link below. And when you do download that diagram, you're going to find that the names or the notes of the scale are written in for you. Okay, so you're going to want to keep that PDF handy. Now, to help you to get really familiar with where the notes are, and that'll help you stand a better chance of working with today's drill, you might want to recognize, once again, A minor is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You can kind of practice reciting the notes to yourself as you play the scale. You could go like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, like that. Now, we're going to use several backing tracks today in our various demonstrations, but those backing tracks are all going to consist of the chords A minor, D minor, and G major. Why A minor, D minor, G major? The reason is because when the individual notes that make up those chords, when those individual notes are combined, they give us all the notes that we find in the key of A minor. In other words, an A minor triad consists of the individual notes A, C, and D. A D minor triad consists of the individual notes D, F, and A. And a G major triad consists of the notes G, B, and D. So again, you can see that when we put all these individual notes together, we have every note of the key of A minor, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Every note is expressed, okay? So now what we need to do is, working within our scale fingering, we're going to find those specific notes. It's really helpful to do this from a scale fingering, or else things can get really overwhelming, okay? Now, in the spirit of keeping things from being overwhelming, even though we're eventually going to put all those triad notes together, I recommend you practice finding the notes one triad at a time. So let's start with our A minor triad. For our A minor chord, we're going to need to find the individual notes A, C, and E within our scale fingering. Well, we have an A note right here, 6th string, 5th fret, another A note right there, 4th string, 7th fret, another A note right there, 1st string, 5th fret, okay? Keep in mind the 1st string and the 6th string will always be the same because they're tuned to the same note. They're both tuned to E, okay? Now we need to find our C notes. Well, I got one here, 6th string, 8th fret. one here, 3rd string 5th fret, and one here, 1st string 8th fret. Again, 6th string and 1st string are going to be the same, okay? And finally, we have to find 2 E notes, okay? Here's one, 5th string 7th fret. Here's the other one, 2nd string 5th fret, okay? E and E, okay? So now we know where our A notes, our C notes, and our E notes are, okay? And if we're more or less kind of sort of comfortable finding the notes of our A minor triad, we're going to try to do a solo with that, okay? So I'm going to put on a backing track in A minor, give a shot to a very, very short improvisation. And in a nutshell, when the jam track is going on, when it's playing an A minor chord, I'm going to look to emphasize either an A note or an E note or a C note, okay? Now when the jam track is on a different chord, I'm just going to be playing passages, you know, really just trying to let my ear guide me to wherever I might want to go, okay? Now, of course, this approach necessarily requires that I have an awareness of which chord is being played at which time. So it makes sense to start with a very simple jam track and for me to recognize, yes, there is an ear training component to this as well, as I said earlier, okay? So you need to really be listening to the chord changes and have an awareness of what chord is being played at what time, okay? I'm going to give it a shot. Here we go. So that was me identifying notes from the A minor triad, okay? Well, let's talk about our D minor triad right now. A D minor chord consists of the individual notes D, F, and A. And in the scale fingering, I actually have 2 Ds right here, 5th string, 5th fret, and another one here, 3rd string, 7th fret. I have 2 F notes as well, 5th string, 8th fret, 2nd string, 6th fret, and we've already recognized our A's. Remember, A, okay? The 6th string, the 4th string, and the 1st string, okay? So now, time for another backing track demonstration, okay? This time I'm going to be focused mostly on my D minor chord and my D minor triad notes. The other 2 chords in the sequence, again, I'm just going to be playing my scale, letting my ear guide me, okay? Here goes that one. Okay, there's my D minor triad. 1 triad to go, and that is my G major triad. A G major triad consists of the individual notes G, B, and D. And in this particular scale finger we have today, well, we got 2 G notes, 4th string, 5th fret right there, 2nd string, 8th fret right there, okay? 3 B notes, 6th string, 7th fret, 4th string, 9th fret, and 1st string, 7th fret. Remember, 6th string, 1st string, the same. I know I've said that already, okay? And we've already talked about where to find the G notes. We had G, B, and our D notes right there. We've already talked about the D notes, okay? So now we're going to do the jam track focusing on G major, G, B, and D. And again, when the other chords are going, I'm just going to be listening and playing passages, letting my ear guide me. Here goes emphasizing my G notes. Okay, so that's my G major triad. Now, when you're working this at home, I really want to encourage you to take this approach here, learning the triad notes one chord at a time, rather than trying to learn everything all at once. But if you're putting in a good amount of time with this practice, okay, isolating your A minor, isolating your D minor, isolating your G major triads, now we can start to put everything all together. So I've got one final jam track at the ready, and I'm going to practice being aware of the chord that's being played, orienting my phrases to bring out the triad notes specific to whatever chord is being played. Here goes. So that's my A minor, D minor, and G major triads. Now, as good as this drill is to get you started, you might be wondering, well, where do I go from here? And without getting into an extremely deep discussion about music theory and so forth, I'm going to recommend you take three specific steps in this order. First, just as we practiced today triads, that the individual notes when combined add up to every note from my A minor scale, and I can use this fifth position fingering right here. You can do the exact same thing in other scale fingerings on the neck. For example, I know I have a number of A minor scales, but I've got one right here at the 12th fret, root note on the 5th string, 12th fret, and as I recite these notes, I can begin to identify where my triad notes are going to be found. You know, you've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so forth, okay? So in terms of where you go from here, kind of big picture, the very first step after you get today's exercise down is to identify those very same triad notes in different scale fingerings on the neck. Step number 2 is pretty straightforward. Figure out different chords that are also in the key of A minor and practice finding those triad notes. So for example, instead of playing a chord sequence maybe that has A minor, D minor, G major, maybe you end up playing a chord sequence that has an F major chord in it. And as it happens, the note in my F major chord are F, A, and C. And if you've already put time into today's lesson and practice, you're going to know where those individual notes F, A, and C are. Maybe a chord sequence, just another example, has a C major chord in it. Well, a C major chord consists of C, E, and G. And again, if you have put today's lesson into practice, you're going to be able to find that C, E, and G that makes up the C major chord without too much difficulty. So that's step 2. Step 3, okay, just to recap, step 1 is finding your basic A minor, D minor, G major, different scale fingerings on the neck, okay? Step 2, practice triads using different chords that we find in the key of A minor. For example, F major, for example, C major, that kind of thing. Now, step 3. Step 3 is a little bit tricky because eventually you're going to want to start changing keys. Knowing triads across all keys is a very big topic. It's a very big undertaking. But for now, what I would suggest is that you very slowly, very gradually, work your way away from A minor. So for example, I can take today's lesson and apply it in the key of B minor. And that's hopefully not too overwhelming because when I go from A minor to B minor, basically everything I'm doing, I'm moving up the neck 2 frets. Okay? So instead of my basic chords that I'm working on being A minor, D minor, and G major, well, if I change keys to B minor, now I'm going to be dealing with B minor, E minor, and A major. And again, moving my triad notes from A minor like we did into B minor, well, if my A minor triad consists of A, C, and E, then my B minor triad is going to consist of B, D, and F sharp. Remember, everything is 2 frets higher, 2 frets further, left to right on the chromatic scale. And just as I found my A, C, and E, you know, A, C, E, also another C there. Well, now I've got B, 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 D, 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 F sharp there. Okay? Similarly, my D minor triad, recall, was D, F, A. Okay? I got to turn that D minor triad into E minor. So if I had D, F, and of course we already know the A's, well, now I'm going to go E, G, and B. E minor is E, G, B. And similarly, again, everything's just 2 frets higher. And finally, you know, my G major triad, well, if I'm turning that into an A major, because we're changing keys from A minor to B minor, my G major triad becomes A major, but the notes are going to be found in the same place. Okay? I've got an A here, I've got a C sharp, okay? I'm going to have a C sharp here, C sharp here, C sharp here, and I've got an E note here and here, just 2 frets higher than was my G major triad, okay? So there we go. I know that's a lot. Feel free to back up the video, okay? If I really demonstrated everything slowly and repetitively, this video would be an hour, okay? Couple of final points though quickly. One, please don't rush through this process, okay? This is a big undertaking. And while the path that I've given you today is an effective one, this is not something you're going to completely incorporate into your playing in a week's time. Be patient with yourself. Trust the process. The second thing I want to emphasize is that although knowing triad notes is very beneficial, I still believe that your single most powerful tool is your ear. And I really like to think of practicing triad notes as its own form of ear training. You're training your ear to connect with your hands, and your ear will guide your hands to what we might call the sweeter sounding notes, the target notes. And you also want to keep in mind that as great as triads are, those aren't the only notes that sound good over a given chord. Sevenths and ninths, for example, carry a lot of emotion as well. Okay, so triads are just a starting point. That being said, today's method is a great way to learn your neck and train your ear at the same time, okay? So that's today's lesson, all right? And if you enjoyed today's content, please hit the like button, and also please subscribe. There's a ton of content here on the Guitar Journey YouTube channel, and we are adding new content all the time. So please hit like and please hit subscribe. And also, if you'd like to, please leave me a comment. You may agree with me, you may disagree with me, that's all fine. I really believe we can all learn from each other and enrich each other's guitar journeys. Thanks so much. Have a great day.